Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back. I'm ready to play another concert, and a good friend of mine gave me a great title for this evening's performance. This concert is called Music Lost in Time, and that pretty much sums up everything that I do. So there'll be a lot of variety tonight. I'm going to play everything from the very earliest ragtime tunes to a lot of rare pop songs and even some songs from movies later on in the evening. So we're going to start out with early ragtime songs and then go into later decades of music, you know, as the concert goes along. This first tune came out in 1900, and it became popular many years later because of the famous Max Morath. And I love this tune. I might be able to remember all the words to it. Let's see. Got a ragtime dog and a ragtime cat, a ragtime piano and my ragtime flat. I wear ragtime clothes from hat to shoe. I read a paper called the Ragtime News. I sleep in ragtime and I talk that way. And then I rag all day, something like that. I've got ragtime troubles with my ragtime wife. I'm certainly living a ragtime life. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm certainly living a ragtime life. That's me, for sure. So now I'm a little bit more warmed up. I'm going to play a tune for you, which I should have learned this song long ago. It is widely considered the very first published ragtime song. And the composer's name was Ben Harney. He was from Kentucky. And in 1895, he went from Kentucky to New York and became a huge smash at one of the big vaudeville theaters in New York City called Proctor's. And they said he was so talented that he could play the piano, sing, and tap dance all at the same time. And I think Ben Harney deserves a lot more credit for the invention of ragtime music as we know it than he gets. He deserves a lot of credit, at least for popularizing the syncopated rhythms of ragtime with the general public. And this tune came out in 1895. It is described in the book They All Played Ragtime as the very first published ragtime song. It is certainly the first one that's part of what you might call the canon of ragtime music. And the original edition was published in Louisville, Kentucky in 1895. The only place I've ever seen that first printing was at the Library of Congress. But I do have the first New York edition from 1896. Here it is. You've been a good old wagon, but you've done broke down. And there's Ben Harney himself on the cover of the music. Hopefully you can see it pretty well. And I'm going to play it for you pretty much the way it was written. I got to look at the music here a little bit. I thought this would be an interesting thing to play tonight for this concert of music lost in time. The song is about getting on a trolley car line, which in the 1890s they called it the dummy line because they had just invented steam-powered trolleys, and there'd be a steam engine that would run it, and so it was called the dummy line. It wasn't pulled by horses or people, and so the words. It's not a very serious song. I was standing in a crap game doing no harm, baby, when a copper grabbed me by my arm, honey, took me down to the jailhouse door, a place I'd never been before. I was run in. Let's see. You know, the words to this were changed over the years. It's one of those familiar melodies that, a lot of people recognize from their childhood, or, and you'll hear it and you'll say, oh, well, I thought I heard different words to this. The way it was originally sung, these words are not what most people know. Anyhow, here we go with You've Been a Good Old Wagon, but You Done Broke Down. you very much. I jumped on the dummy, didn't have no fare this morning. Jumped on the dummy, didn't have no fare this morning. And then the next verse is something like, went around in a circle, didn't get nowhere. And then in the next verse, he gets arrested. And it just gets worse and worse. So there's a little bit of the music of Ben Harney, which I have never performed before. And that'll be a lot of the tunes I'm playing tonight. I spent a lot of time practicing the last 2 days to come up with some new things to play for you, mostly rare songs that really have not been played, at least not by very many people in the last 100 years. And one of those pioneer performers I would have loved to have heard him play was a man from New Orleans named Tony Jackson, who's said to have been Jelly Roll Morton's greatest inspiration. And sadly, Tony Jackson died before he ever made any phonograph records or player piano rolls. Ben Harney, there are a couple of cylinders of him singing his songs a cappella, which do survive. It's very interesting to listen to those. But Tony Jackson, we can't hear him play, but he did have, about a dozen songs published, and there was one that was a big hit. I'm going to go ahead and play that one for you, which is called Pretty Baby, one of the big hits of the Ragtime years. 1916 is when it was finally published. I want a lovin' baby, and it might as well be you. Pretty baby, pretty baby. I want to be your sister, brother, dad, and mother too. Pretty baby, pretty baby. Won't you come and let me walk you in my cradle of love, and we'll cuddle all the time. I want a lovin' baby, and it might as well be you. Pretty baby. Well, along with it, I'll do one of his less-known songs, which came out in 1917, called Some Sweet Day. I have loved this song for a long time, and it's one of the few by Tony Jackson that survives. So here's 2 songs by Tony Jackson. And Pretty Baby includes the original verse, which survives only on a tape of Glover Compton. The music was changed, the original verse, when it was published by the editors. thank you very much to Ragtime era songs by the legendary Tony Jackson from New Orleans, Louisiana. Okay, well, after about 3 tunes, I usually make an announcement that I do accept virtual tips for these concerts. All you have to do is send in a tip on PayPal or Venmo, and even a small amount helps with my career. If you enjoy the music, it's much appreciated. The PayPal and Venmo information is in the chat and the postings on all 3 websites, as always. Oh, I see a request here that I think I'll play right away. Why not do it? Yeah, always happy to take requests. As you can tell, I have a lot of sheet music on the piano tonight. They are mostly songs where I know the chorus, but I have to read the sheet music for the verse. So they're not entirely new songs to me, you know, that I just learned in 1 week, but some of them are less familiar, including this rag that I'm about to play. I got a request from Leo Roth to play one of my favorite rags, which is definitely a piece of music lost in time. It's an obscure rag, but a joyful one, written in 1903 by a composer named T.A. Duggan, and it's called Hap Little Mose. Here we go. Hap Little Mose. Little is with an apostrophe. much. Hat Lil Mose. Yeah, it's a terrific rag. One of those unique rags from the early 1900s by a sort of one-hit wonder that really has a neat sound to it. There's a lot of pieces like that. Well, we're going to move into the early jazz age now, and I'm going to play for you a tune that was written by composer, an African-American songwriter named Thomas A. Dorsey. Not the famous big band leader Tommy Dorsey, of course. This is a jazz songwriter, Thomas Dorsey, and this had to be one of his bigger hits. And I finally found the original sheet music, learned the tune. This is pretty much off the original music, and I added a key change to it. It's one of the great sort of naughty jazz numbers of the late 20s. It's called It's Tight Like That. And there's a terrific record of this done by a jug band called Tampa Red. And that's probably the most unusual and interesting record of this that was ever made. But a lot of dance bands did it too, and so forth. So here's Thomas Dorsey's hit tune, It's Tight Like That, about 1928. Thank you very much. It's Tight Like That. More music lost in time. But it's not anymore because I'm still playing it. And, you know, the reason I play tunes like this is simply because I like them. It's no more complicated than that. I love the music. And when I was in graduate school, they tried to get me to, explain, you know, the cultural significance and try and prove why the music I like is important. And you can do that, you know, for a lot of reasons. The Ragtime era was the first time in history that African-American composers got their music published and so forth. But that's not why I love it. I just like it. And there's some songs I just like, and that's all there is to it. I can't explain it any deeper than that. That includes the next song. You may have seen I posted a bunch of sheet music on the Facebook event page this week, and I threw in this song, which is from the early 20s. I have always loved it. I think the first record of this I ever heard might have been Vernon Dalhart, the early hillbilly singer. I'm pretty sure he recorded this, and it was a big hit at the time, but it's kind of been forgotten. That may be the case with a lot of the songs you're hearing tonight. They were hits at the time, but in the last 100 years they have been forgotten. This song is called Tuck Me to Sleep in My Old Tucky Home. And I'll put a little bit at the beginning of a quote of Stephen Foster's famous My Old Kentucky Home, of course. But this is a different song, a pop song from about 1920 or 21 called Tuck Me to Sleep in My Old Tucky Home. Thank you very much. Hands getting tired there at the end. Gee. Tuck me to sleep in my old Tucky home. A lot of the tunes I'm going to play tonight are sort of like obscure pop songs. Just tunes, again, that I like because I like them. There's no explanation. Sometimes it's because I find a record or a piano roll of the piece that I just really love, and it makes me fall in love with the tune itself. That's the case with this song. I found a record of this played by the Volunteer Firemen, which was one of the many names for Harry Reeser's bands in the 1920s. And it includes a vocal by Al Bernard, my favorite vocalist of that period, the boy from Dixie, Al Bernard. And here is the original sheet music for the song, written by Haven Gillespie and George A. Little. Haven Gillespie, of course, was a very famous lyricist who wrote the lyrics to, I think, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, many other famous tunes. Here's the tune, Blinky Moon Bay. And it has great cover artwork. Of course, most music did in those days. Hopefully you can see it. Yeah. Let me read you some of the words. Down on Blinky Moon Bay, happy as honeybees long about May. We were a name in the day, down on Blinky Moon Bay. Eyes big as sugar plum pies, blinking and winking were putting me wise. I was a winning my prize, down on Blinky Moon Bay. All the little ripples on Swanee River sang of happiness. Wait until you see the little ring I'll give her, you'll guess the rest. Oh, June, I'm awaiting the time when I'll be taking her, making her mine. Soon we will cuddle up, down on Blinky Moon Bay. 1925, here it goes. Thank you very much, folks. They don't write charming lyrics like that anymore either. Contemporary music, it all has two chords and three words. Baby, 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 I want you, baby, 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 baby. That's the whole dang thing. Well, go ahead and send in some requests. Be happy to play them for you. I see one I could do right now. But I'll wait a minute. You know, it takes a few minutes for the chat to catch up with the video. I'll try and get in as many of your requests tonight as I can. I've got quite a list. You see all this music here on the piano, tunes that I want to play for you tonight. Let me check Facebook real quick, make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, hi, Raven. Thank you very much. How sweet of you. We miss you in Durango. Oh, and hi to Marion. That's my friend's grandmother. Yep. The 1920s is hard to beat. The only decade that might have beat it was the 30s. I don't see one here that I know by heart. I'll go ahead and play it for you. This came from Jim Moritz, a friend of mine in the Chicago area who also used to know Johnny Maddox and listen to Johnny play. He asked me to play the piece that is probably my favorite ragtime waltz, and I loved it so much I used it as the title of my first CD, believe it or not. I was about 13 years old. The piece was written way back in 1898 by a black composer in Detroit, Michigan, named Harry P. Guy, and it's called Echoes from the Snowball Club. Great tune to play around Christmas time. So here it goes. I definitely need a slow number now and then, so this will be good to stick this in here. Echoes from the Snowball Club. Thank you so much. Echoes from the Snowball Club. Well, I better get going with some of the tunes here on the piano. Let's do this number next. We're going back to the late 20s, 1929. Oh, let me show you the cover. I should always do that when I have the sheet music out here. It took me a long time to find this song. I just love it. It was recorded by Ted Weems' orchestra. It's called Remarkable Girl. And the music was written by Lou Handman, a great songwriter of the 1920s, who also wrote a big hit you might know called Are You Lonesome Tonight, later revived by Elvis Presley. And what's interesting is the lyrics are by Henry Creamer, who was one of the great black songwriters who wrote with Turner Layton. He wrote After You've Gone and Way Down Yonder in New Orleans. And he was a black lyricist who wrote very, very often with white composers, which was unusual in those days. But anyhow, it's just one of those great 1920s songs. It has a good melody and rhythm. Remarkable Girl. Remarkable Girl. Thank you very much. Okay, next up, a couple of songs from, gotta fix my rug here. Like everything to look nice. A couple of songs that were featured in a movie by one of the famed vaudeville teams of the 1920s. It may not be names that you remember, but they were big stars at the time. I'm talking about the Duncan Sisters, and the Duncan Sisters were just absolutely charming. I have many of their records, and they did do Broadway shows, at least one that was a big hit, called Topsy and Eva, about 1923, and there's a beautiful song called Remembering that was written for that show, and in later years they were on television broadcasts, and my musical idol, Johnny Maddox, actually met the Duncan Sisters back in the 1950s. I think it was through his friend Candy Candido, who was another actor of that period. And so Johnny and I sat down together and watched the movie that the Duncan Sisters made, which is called It's a Great Life. And here's the sheet music cover. It was 1929, and the movie's called It's a Great Life. There's the Duncan Sisters on the cover of the music. And I'm actually going to play two songs from this movie for you, back to back. when we watched the movie, I just fell in love with the songs. Music by Dave Dreyer and Ballard McDonald. Dave Dreyer was very famous in the 20s. If not famous, he was important. He wrote a lot of great songs. And so I want to play these two songs for you now, back to back. I'm Following You, which was the song they sang over and over in the movie, and then a more up-tempo number called the Who's Your Hop? I don't know if we've got anybody from Indiana listening tonight, but we're going to do the Who's Your Hop too. So here are two Duncan Sisters songs from It's a Great Life, 1929. I'm Following You and Who's Your Hop? Thank you so much, the Duncan Sisters. Well, I've got a lot more music to play for you. Oh, I see someone has requested Tango for Dead about 5 times. Email me and I'll send you the sheet music for that. I saw that you had asked me where to find that. I saw that in a private message somewhere or on the YouTube chat. Just remind me. Speaking of Johnny Maddox, here's a song that he introduced to me. I remember he called me on the phone and he told me, you ought to dig out this song and play it. And he talked about so much music that I didn't give it much thought for a while, and then I finally sat down and played this song, and I was astonished how beautiful it is. It's called Restless. There's the original cover artwork, and this is from the 30s. We're into the mid-1930s now. This song, Restless, has very sophisticated harmonies. That's what makes it so interesting. Words and music by Sam Coslow and Tom Satterfield, 1935. Here we go with Restless. Thank you very much. Restless from 1935. Speaking of rest, I need a little bit of a rest, so I'm going to make a couple of announcements real quick. First of all, I do accept virtual tips for these online concerts. Every week on Sunday night, I do a virtual live stream from my home here in Durango, Colorado. And if you enjoy the music, if you want to help me with my career, try to make a living out of this, this has become very important to me, doing these live streams in the last 4 years since the COVID pandemic started, and every little bit helps. There's both PayPal and Venmo information in the chat and the postings on all three websites. And I have a P.O. box for checks as well. You can get that off of my personal website, but I'll go ahead and give you the P.O. box, which I should have done in previous years. It's box 842 in Durango, Colorado, 81302. And if you're interested, you can also now send a tax-deductible donation for the Durango Ragtime and Early Jazz Festival, the music festival that I'm trying to start, which will be the first weekend of April 2025. It's April 3rd through the 6th, I believe. And if you send anything to the P.O. Box, just make sure you specify whether it's a tip for me or a donation for the festival. If you want to make a donation to the Ragtime Festival, the check has to be made out to Durango Ragtime and Early Jazz Festival. So put that on your calendars as well. The first weekend of April, come see me here in person in this little town that I love so much. I'm going to be very excited to be bringing 6 or possibly more really top-notch musicians in their field from all over the country to Durango. And the events will be held at both the historic Strater Hotel and the Durango Arts Center. There will be concerts, silent movies, seminars on the history of the music. There will be after-hours parties in the Diamond Bell Saloon. I'm even going to try and take an upright piano down to the train station, and we'll have the musicians playing the piano as the Durango and Silverton Railroad returns to town on the first day of the festival. So it's going to be a blast. You can get hotel room packages through the Strater Hotel. They have a reduced rate if you tell them you're coming for the Ragtime Festival. You can also buy tickets for everything else on the Durango Arts Center website. I know it's not a terribly well-designed website, but everything is there and it is available. If you buy a full festival pass, you have to buy the tickets for the dinners at the Strater Hotel separately. These are going to be big banquets in the Pullman room at the Strater Hotel where we'll all be playing music, and you have to buy those separately because food is involved. So that's a little bit about the festival, and now I'm going to move on and play a piano roll for you. I'm sure you all noticed there's a piano roll sitting on top of my piano tonight. The piano sounds much better than last week because Chris Drury came all the way from Albuquerque just this morning. He left early and tuned my piano this afternoon. Many thanks to Chris for doing that. I'm so lucky that I have a good piano technician who knows how to truly handle antique instruments, and as such, I'll be having him on call for the Ragtime Festival as well. We've decided on that, and this is a 1913 Apollo player piano, and it does have dynamic control, this lever down here, which is kind of unusual for most regular player pianos. It's one of the reasons I love it. I'm going to be doing a couple of black show tunes for you now. That's what this piece is. This is a piano roll played by Lucky Roberts, the great ragtime composer. Well, he also wrote music for black Broadway shows of the 1920s. Sadly, Lucky Roberts only made about 5 hand-played piano rolls. You have heard me perform some of those pieces, including Railroad Blues and Molasses on previous broadcasts. This song is from the same Broadway show as Molasses. 1923. It was a Broadway show called Go-Go. And this piece was actually a minor hit. This is the one from the show that most people, when the sheet music came out, it's the one they all bought. This is the one that most bands played, or at least I have one record of it, which is more than most black Broadway shows of the period. So here is Rose Time and You, hand-played by the composer, the virtuoso ragtime pianist, Lucky Roberts. QRS piano roll, dated August 1923. Rose Time and You. Long leader. shame he didn't make more piano rolls because his piano playing is so fantastic. And we'll rewind that and move on with the rest of the concerts. Let me get this put out on display again. Well, I know what I'm going to play next. As I told you, I'm going to do 2 Black Show tunes back to back here. This is a very rare one. My friend Aubrey Van Dyke, who's a big sheet music collector, told me she had never seen this when I posted this on Facebook the other day, so I must be very lucky to have the original sheet music for this piece. It's from a show called Messin' Around, and the music is by the one and only James P. Johnson. And the lyrics are written by Perry Bradford, the black man who was the composer of Crazy Blues. And, of course, this is a very serious song called Skiddly-Scow. It's interesting to me that the sheet music very often called him Jimmy Johnson. And all the academics today, of course, it's James P. Johnson. I hope Audrey gets to hear this. I haven't played this in a while, but I can still do it. The sheet music is I noticed the other day, it's very different than the record that James B. Johnson made with Perry Bradford. I think it's Perry Bradford singing the song. But anyhow, from 1929, here's Skiddly-Scow. Thank you very much. A rarely heard song by James P. Johnson. Another song that definitely fits the theme of music lost in time. Looks like someone just sent me a tip on PayPal. 20 light bulbs, is that what that is? Oh, it's stars. It's stars on Facebook. Sorry, I think I said PayPal. I meant Facebook. I've never had anyone send a tip directly on Facebook. I guess that's what that is. Huh. The view count is high tonight. Gosh. So please don't forget to hit the like button. That is, if you like the music. If you don't, please don't hit the dislike button. That would not be very nice. Here's a song I don't even need the music for this, but I thought I'd show you the cover artwork. This is from a Broadway show, 1927, I believe. Yep. And Charles Dillingham's Lucky. He was a huge Broadway producer in the 20s. I guess the show was called Lucky. And it has wonderful photos of the stars of the show on the cover of the music. Maybe you can see a few of them. Most of them are not well remembered, but Paul Whiteman is on the cover of the music, and so is it Ruby Keeler down there, I think? Yeah, Ruby Keeler. And this song is called Dancing the Devil Away. I learned this because of Arden and Omen's recording that they did with their orchestra. It probably made this song very popular. And let me look at the music to the verse here, just make sure I get it exactly right. Dancing the Devil Away. Here we go. Dancing the Devil Away. At least a quick version of it. Thank you very much. Let me play something for which I don't have to use the sheet music. Here's a pop song which was popular at the time again, but it might be obscure to many of you here in 2024 because the song came out in about 1932, I believe. And I have always loved this. It was done by Rudy Vallée and the Boswell sisters. Pretty sure Rudy Vallée recorded it. Many other greats of the 30s. This is called Was That the Human Thing to Do? thank you so much. Was that the human thing to do? Alan, who's from England, says a lot of the rags are pretty obscure to those of us not from the U.S. Well, I'm sure that's true, although keep in mind that most of this concert, except for the first 3 or 4 tunes, has not been ragtime at all, really. I do get frustrated sometimes if I'm pigeonholed as only a ragtime pianist. I play vintage popular music from the days when music was really music. And Kelly Kaufman says, I've never heard most of these gorgeous songs either, but loving this themed concert tonight. Oh, I'm so glad. What I love to do the most is play songs that I don't play real often. They don't have to be terribly obscure, but I just like to play things that I don't play every week because it's more of a challenge for me. That's my excuse for doing this concert tonight. But please send in some more requests. I've got time for 1 or 2 more tonight, if not more than that. So please go ahead and send them in. I'll check the chat on all 3 websites. I haven't checked Twitch at all. I only see 1 person on there on Twitch. Gosh. I might be able to play that one. I see something. Let me see. Oh, Dylan, gosh, I wish I could play Frank Melrose for you. I love him. I can't believe you're still awake in England. I have so many listeners from Europe. An obscure state-themed tune. Name me a state, Dave, and I'll try and do it. In the meantime, let's see. What do I have left on my list? Okay, I'll do this. I just got through saying I didn't play much ragtime tonight, but so I'm going to do a little more for you. This is very authentic ragtime era, 1916. I just got a request for this called "Buzzin' the Bee," and then I see what Dave wants, and I've got an idea for you. Okay, but first, "Buzzin' the Bee." This is a popular tune from the ragtime years. It was recorded by George Gershwin on a piano roll, believe it or not. Which is the instrumental version of the tune, and that's what I learned. And it was also recorded by Gene Green, the great vaudeville ragtime king. That's one of his only records, only American records I don't have. I would love to find that. Here's Buzzin' the Bee. Thank you so much, Buzzin' the Bee. Okay. Dave Goodlaxon says, play a state-themed song. And I said, well, pick a state. He picked Tennessee. So I'm going to do a very pretty song for you. This is also solidly ragtime era, 1915. It's called Back Home in Tennessee. A song which was a hit at the time, but it's sort of obscure today. I learned this from Johnny Maddox originally. And I believe I read that this was Walter Donaldson's first song. So here's Back Home in Tennessee as a medley with My Sunny Tennessee, which was an Eddie Cantor hit. Thank you so much. Back Home in Tennessee. Oh, it's so nice now when I play a note up high and I play a note down low and it's all in tune. It's hard to find a really excellent piano technician these days. Glad Chris tuned this today. That song was called Back Home in Tennessee. Just try to picture me back home in Tennessee. Okay, I have a few things that I have planned now that I'm going to close out the concert with. This next one, here's the original sheet music. Another song that Johnny introduced me to with a beautiful, beautiful melody. This is from the mid-1930s now, not ragtime anymore. It was the swing era, although this is more of a ballad. And the song is called You Started Me Dreaming. And it was written by the wonderful J. Fred Coots, the prolific songwriter who wrote Love Letters in the Sand and Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Words and music by Benny Davis and J. Fred Coots. 1936. Another song that's been lost for too long. You Started Me Dreaming. Thank you very much. You started me dreaming. All right, well, I wanted to play, a huge variety of everything tonight, from early ragtime to pop songs to, I did some obscure Broadway show tunes. Well, now it's time to do a few songs from movies. Songs that I wish were better remembered. And I'm going to play a medley of 2 songs for you. I think I played these songs not too long ago. These were both big hits in the 1930s for Bobby Breen, who was a big child star. He was sort of like the boy version of Shirley Temple, and he had a beautiful soprano voice. And I'm going to do the songs that were probably Bobby's two biggest hits from two movies that he made early in his career. I think he was about 9 years old in 1936 when he made these movies. And the two songs are called Let's Sing Again and Rainbow on the River. And Bobby retired to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He owned a talent agency down there, and I was able to get in touch with his family, and they took him some sheet music to autograph for me. I think I have shown you this before, but I thought I'd show it again. There's the original music for Let's Sing Again with a beautiful signature in gold ink, signed for me by Bobby Breen. And this song was written by the legendary Jimmy McHugh, lyrics by Gus Kahn. Let's Sing Again. The most famous one, Rainbow on the River, I have that in a frame, so I can't get the music out and show you. But I'm going to use the original copy here and just play both of these for you. Now a medley of two songs from the movies. Bobby Breen hits, believe it or not. Thank you so much. You won't hear those songs very often. Well, we've come to the end of the program, and I have two more songs that I must play for you. And if you follow my Facebook announcements for these concerts, you will have seen the original sheet music covers for these pieces, which are very rare. I don't have them. Let's just say I found them elsewhere, so I don't get in trouble for copyright or something. I want to play these because these are two songs that were written for one of the famous old Western movies that was made right here in Durango, Colorado, where I live. And I was stunned to find that sheet music was published from one of the movies made in Durango. It's called Night Passage, starring Jimmy Stewart and Audie Murphy. It was filmed in 1957. And the music for this movie was written by one of the most legendary film composers in history, Dimitri Tomkin. And these songs are not particularly memorable, but Jimmy Stewart actually sings both of these himself in the movie. I don't know that he sang in very many movies. And so these may be odd selections to end the concert with tonight, but I'm going to play them anyway. I hope you enjoy them, because this may be the last time you ever hear them. The first tune is called You Can't Get Far Without a Railroad, and the other one is called Follow the River. The railroad song is kind of catchy. Let's see. I was farming in Missouri. I was getting tired of that, so I bought myself a satchel and a stovepipe hat. Then I headed for the station, gonna travel all about, but there wasn't any station, and I soon found out. You can't get far without a railroad. You can't get far without a railroad. Something's got to take you there and got to bring you back. You can't go any distance in a buggy or a hack. You can't get far without a railroad. You can't get far without a railroad. You've got to have an engine and you've got to have a track. You can't get far without a railroad. something a little different to close the concert tonight, a little Western movie music. And since I went through the trouble and research of finding those songs, I thought I might as well play them for you. I sure hope you've all enjoyed tonight's concert of a lot of music, lost in time, and please join me again next week for another virtual concert. I'm not sure exactly what I'll be playing yet, but the week after that, which I believe would be Sunday, December 22nd, will be my yearly Ragtime Christmas concert. That's 2 weeks from tonight, but I'll be playing next week as well. Thank you very much for the virtual tips. Go on to the Durango Arts Center website and get your tickets for the Durango Ragtime and Jazz Festival, which is the first weekend of April. It's the first time I have run my own music festival, at least on my own. It's the first time I've done this, and I think I might finally release the first flyer for the festival on my social media tomorrow. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and see you all next Sunday night. And until then, take care. Thanks so much. Good night, everybody.